Welcome to the Emo Social Club podcast, broadcasting to you live from emosocialclub.tv. Except for this one, we're not actually live. We're just recording this on our own because we're at Lollapalooza this week. Anyway, I'm Brian.
And I'm Lizzie, and we're here this evening with our new friend, Amanda Tran, from the project In The Mourning. Super happy to be talking with you. Really love the music that you have been putting out. So I'm so glad we all were able to link up here.
Dudes, thank you so much for having me. When I discovered your podcast, I was like, I need to be friends with them. Like, this is the best thing I have ever seen on the internet. I'm like, Emo Social Club, literally me, on brand. So I'm really stoked to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We've already been like kind of talking a bit before I hit the record button, so we might have the same conversation again because I think that we're just a fun group now that, you know, just vibing the three of us. But
we're all in this together.
This is a fact. We know
it's a fact. But tell us more about yourself. Tell us about In The Mourning, and let's let people know about you.
Totally. I am Amanda Tran. Some people on the internet know me as A Tran, but I'm originally from Seattle, Washington. So lots of music history there. Lots of, you know, if you know, you know. But I've been in LA for about 3 years now. Half of that being pandemic times, but in that time, I had a lot of time to reflect and just like be really nostalgic, which I feel like a lot of us were. And I was just like, why am I not making this music that like I loved growing up, like listening and like making? I used to be in a ton of pop punk bands back in the day, but you know, everyone goes to college, does their own thing. So we kind of just like, all right, we can't really feasibly do this anymore. So since then, I've been releasing a lot of solo music. And I was just like, I miss the band vibe, band energy so much. Like, why don't I just do it? So I did it. So that's In The Mourning. Very much inspired by the bands and the artists that I grew up on. If you heard the debut single, At What Cost, you can very much tell that I'm a huge Avril stan, huge Paramore stan.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much any powerful female voice in anything that is relatively pop rock adjacent is up my alley. So I'm really stoked to be putting music out with In The Mourning. And yeah, that's me.
This is very much the time for, I mean, Avril's come back. Avril's featuring a bunch of stuff.
Everyone's like, oh my God, it's coming back. It's like on trending. I'm like, guys, I never left. Like, we've been here the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, I'm not doing it for the trend. Like,
No, and it
just happened.
Yeah, it's we've talked with a lot of people who are. I mean, we always say like, you know, it's finally time for not the white, straight, cisgender, heterosexual white guy anymore. Like, it's finally time that it's not people who look like me all the time.
Like, you're still cool though.
Look, I
Listen,
understand.
again, you put a mask on him, you don't know which man he is. Yeah. You don't know.
It could be any other white man with a beard. But yeah, it seems like more. It's not necessarily to me that the music ever was gone. It's that it's getting popular because there are people who don't look the same that are getting their voices out there, that are getting the attention that they deserve, because like it's good. Like, the music is really good.
100%. And I'm like so thankful and grateful just to be surrounded by all of these bands that you're probably talking about. But it's wild. I mean, we have always been here, you know, like we've always been here. We've always been fans of the music. We've always been making this kind of music, but we haven't been able to have the opportunity or the platforms. And now with social media, obviously, and like streaming services, it's way easier to put our stuff out there. So I'm just really stoked to be a very small speck in what's happening right now in the scene. It's very exciting. And I'm just very proud and excited for everyone around me.
Well, in your single, At What Cost, also ended up on the United LA playlist and Amazon Music's #mixtape Asia playlist, which I feel like, okay, we all know Eat the Rich, Jeffrey Bezos. Okay, we get it. But
Bezos.
But that is like so significant to be on like an Amazon playlist. How did you find out about that?
Okay, Amazon Music, not to like slander them, but their artist platform is really bad. So like it didn't even notify me. Like, it just got like, Paige was just like, hey, you're on this. I'm like, what? This is like a specific Amazon Music curated playlist. And I'm next to like Rina Sawayama, like BTS. Like, if you told me like last month that I'd be on a playlist next to BTS, the biggest band in the world, I would have been like, right.
Yeah.
BTS,
So
where's the collab? You
it's pretty wild.
cowards.
Olivia's on there, and I'm just like, okay, cool. I'm like I know like every single person on that playlist, and it's like a randomly in the morning. I'm like, cool.
You're like, all right, besties, whoever did this.
Yeah.
Love that for us.
You gotta have like the big artists though to break the small artists, I guess, small in quotes for the audio part of it. It's like, you know, you gotta have like that variety of like genre and level and everything in there.
Totally. But yeah, it's been really cool just to see who's been adding us, who's been listening. Like this is kind of my first project that I've intentionally put out. Like I've been putting music out for a hot minute. A lot of music has been put out, but this is kind of my like why not? Like I need to put myself out there. Like I like these songs and I feel like people need to hear them. So it's kind of my first like intentional push to put stuff out, and it's been really cool to see who's been resonating with it.
That's really cool. And you also have basically like different remixes and collabs coming out for At What Cost. And that comes out on July 30th. So this is pre-record. This is coming out like a week and a half from now. So can you talk about who is on there? Because I know everyone's like tweeting really silly stuff out there. Is Mr. Worldwide definitely on there as a feature?
Yes. Definitely. Someone tweeted you have 100 Gex like remix, and I'm like, yes. Yeah, dream. I'm like, manifest that. Someone's a DJ Khaled. I'm like, I'm open to anything, but yes, I'm super stoked. Yes, no cap.
Be the best music.
But I'm like a huge fan of just like different versions of the same song, because it's really cool just to like hear reimagined versions. Sometimes it's like it was the demo, or if anyone's into K-pop on this, listening to this podcast, they have this track record of putting out like 10 versions of the same song, including like an instrumental. And I like love karaoke, so I was like, I have to have the instrumental on the deluxe.
Yeah.
Like you have to have it so that you can practice, so that when you get to the show, you'll like be ready, you know? Got to get the people ready for the live show. But in addition to that, we also have the acoustic version of At What Cost, which is honestly my favorite. I feel like it really highlights the lyrics to the song, and it makes it even more sad, which is, you know, on brand. We love being sad. So with the acoustic version, it's not masking it with that happy, fun, upbeat production. It's very much just sad. And then the bonus track on there is actually a cover of Complicated by the one and only Avril Lavigne, because, you know, she's the blueprint. So I had to like pay my respects and do my little version of that song, which I'm really excited about. It's probably the most punk thing that I've ever done in my entire life. And people are like, oh, In The Mourning is punk. And I'm like, I never claimed it. But I'm also like not going to say that I'm not, you know, like the day I'm just like writing pop songs, but I like to do rock music. So it's like, you know, pop melodies with like a little rock band behind it. Yeah. And then last but not least, we have the remix, which was remixed by Hansel Romero, who also produced the track, along with Velvet Ear. And it features the one and only Nightlife, which has definitely shaken up the scene in the past couple weeks. And it's like, I'm so stoked for that band and Hansel. It's just like so crazy. And I'm like, I'm not surprised in the slightest, because it's like, I've heard this song like months ago, and I'm just like, I was stoked then, but it's like, oh wow, other people can hear it now. So I'm like, I'm excited that other people are excited about them. And my biggest flex, honestly, in life, probably, I feel like I'm predicting this, but I will never peak. Like, I'm the first band ever to have a Nightlife feature, so no one else can say that.
Yeah.
I was seeing a bunch of people like making mock-ups of like fake Nightlife merch, and I like saw someone did a beanie, and it was like really good. I'm like, oh, did they put out merch already? And
That's
Hansel retweeted, and he was like, oh my god, you guys are like making your own merch. I said, boy, what?
That's when you know. When you have like fake merch, like when you're at your own show and people are selling the fake merch outside your show, like that's when you know.
Yeah, the dream. fake. We're gonna make fake In The Mourning merch just to
Dude,
Just to do it.
I would be.
Is that
I
clout
would
chasing?
be honored. I would be honored.
Sorry, I had a question and then I was like, wait, am I about to have a new career of just standing outside holding up In The Mourning merch?
It's pretty lucrative, honestly. Every show I've been to, like, there's always someone doing it, and people always buy it, and I'm like, okay, you do you.
I mean, I have some friends who'll do that. I like Riot Fest. They always have like the fake like lineup shirts that are only like $15 or $20 instead of paying like 25 or 30, 35, whatever it is. And I have friends who are like, no, I'm gonna do this instead because it's almost the same exact thing. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, that's on you. So that's a you decision.
It is a you decision. Personally,
you can make those decisions.
Yeah. As a full-time fangirl, I would never. I'm like, I can't believe I'm paying $50 for this concert tour tee, but I'm doing it because it has to be the real. In my mind, I know it's the real thing.
Yeah. Like
when I saw the Jonas Brothers long sleeve tee at the first run of the tour, it was the white one. It was $65. I said I got to do it to him, and then I went to the second run of the tour, and they had it in black, and I was like, oh, okay, that'd be cute. And then it was an extra $10. I said, I'm so sorry, I'm not doing that.
That's hilarious. I also went to that tour, and I got the green tie dye.
Ooh, you got that one?
Yeah, it was like the retro one. I'm like, in the moment, I was like, why am I paying this much? But I'm like, it's the Jonas Brothers. I have to.
I want to know what the merch is going to look like for their upcoming tour is my biggest thing. Because I'm seeing them at Summerfest. So I want to see if it's like good.
That's like so weird that they like play festivals. It's kind of cool though. What a time. What a time.
Does it feel like if you're at a big show like Joe Bros, or I'm trying to think of the last one I would have gone to is probably 1975, and it's like you have the kind of up priced merch for like the fest or the upcharge. There it is.
There we go.
The price is more. The cost up.
The price is not right. It is
price not right. Bob Barker's not here.
We gotta cut it. We gotta cut it.
Mr. Bob Barker is not here to save us.
And you know that like if you go to a local show, like that merch is for the band. Like they're taking home the majority of the money that they make from that merch. But obviously at a bigger show like that, and with like a bigger size band, you may feel like, can't really see the reason why I'd pay $50 for this t-shirt when I know that like it's not all going to the band. But I'm still like, I mean, it's got to go there somehow, right? Like the band has to be getting hopefully the majority, not the venue, I hope.
I don't know. I've seen various articles on it, but the venues do get a lot, which is why I'm like, I'll just get it online.
Yeah.
Don't have to wait in line too, which is like a whole thing. But yeah, I'm like, the only clothes I wear is band merch. So there's that too.
I only own long sleeve band tees, actually. I don't own any short sleeve ones.
Yeah, that's weird.
That is weird.
I think there was a time period where I was like only wearing band t-shirts, and now I'm just like, yeah, I want to wear like, I don't know, I have a lot of flower shirts. I have more flower shirts than I do band t-shirts.
He does.
Just overall, I'm like,
gotta stay on brand.
I like flowers. I like plants. I like being in nature. I hate being in nature. I hate being outside.
I was like, you were lying. You were lying right now.
No, the only nature I see is on my t-shirts.
On your shirts.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've been very much like moving out of the band t-shirt world. I think in my oldest age, like just getting older.
Emos.
Yeah, being an older emo. I'm like
being an older emo, and I was like, no, don't expose us.
It hurts. But I'm like, maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just getting older and I'm like, no, I don't want to wear these like band t-shirts. I don't want people to judge my musical tastes. I don't want them to like look at my shirt and go, I know everything about that guy.
Yeah, I definitely have those moments, but I also don't care. So I will proudly wear any band merch that I like in public.
Yeah, I like always wear because all I have is like I think 4+ drawers of just band merch or like radio merchandise, and like that's all I wear most of the time outside of just like general things that are going on. So I get it, and it's hard to transition out of that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I remember growing up and I was like, my goal is to have a job where I can just wear band tees. And like, I finally did it. Like, I work in social media, so everyone's super chill. And outside of that, I'm in music. So it's like, okay, obviously I'll wear band tees, but we made it, everybody. We made it.
We love it. It's all we could ask for.
Truly.
Do you wear band tees on stage?
Yeah. People are like, don't wear your own merch. And I'm like, I will proudly wear my own merch.
I'm like, well, I'm saying now, but like,
I'm literally wearing it right now. This is a promo.
I love it.
Yes, I have worn other band tees. There's like this picture of me back in the day performing with my old pop punk band, and I was literally wearing an Avril Lavigne tour shirt. I remember this vividly. But yes, if it matches the vibe that day, then yes, I will wear it.
Because like,
I want to know.
Sorry, that's the time when I would feel like the most judged. Is like, all right, we're gonna see this band. I don't know what this band is gonna sound like, and then you come out and you're wearing like a Motley Crue shirt, and it's like, well, this band sounds nothing like Motley Crue. Why is he wearing that fucking shirt? It's like, no. I just thought, oh god.
Listen to other music. You can be influenced by other genres. Like, I love
like Brian.
genres.
Imagine if you showed up to the Enter Shikari gig wearing a Taylor Swift shirt.
Like, I have played my emo cover band. I did play our last show wearing a Taylor Swift shirt. So I did that, and I was like, this is how I'm gonna go out. I
respect your personal choice, honestly.
Yeah,
like, live your best life. You know?
I absolutely love Taylor Swift. I want to represent, and I want everyone to know that I like Taylor Swift, especially when I'm on stage.
That's very on brand for anyone who's a Taylor Swift fan.
Yeah, that's big T Swifty energy.
Yeah,
like, you have to know that I'm a fan.
You have to know. It's in my Twitter bio.
And you have to know I'm gonna put on any other Taylor Swift hit, and then half of you are gonna be real upset about it for no reason.
Let it happen. Let it happen.
That's funny you say like what band shirt I would wear would allow people to judge me, but I'm like, regardless of what I wear, they're still gonna say that we sound like Paramore. So there's that.
I hate it.
Which I'm like, if you actually mean it, then I'm like, wow, I'm truly honored because they're like the GOAT in my mind. But I'm like, if you're just saying that because I happen to be a female, then I'm like, you need to do your research first of all. But
is it inescapable? Because like I agree. It's like, dude, there are bands that just sound like bands. And I think, like we were saying earlier, with all the new artists that are coming out that aren't men, it's like now all of a sudden you have a much wider range of bands to pick from. And I think Avril like coming back into like culture and being a part of like different songs and kind of getting a lot more respect now than she got before, and well-deserved respect. But like, it's like you have so many more artists to compare everybody to, and yet it's still Paramore. It's like, okay, now it sounds like it's a choice. It sounds like you're being a dick.
I mean, I feel like that's how it was from the beginning, but you know, that it is what it is. And if people are really thoughtful and they are actually listening to it and like making like valid claims and references, and I'm like, cool, that's dope. Like, I'm honored to be even like in the same sentence with them, but I'm like, did you even listen to it? You're just saying that.
So I did want to know, though, your perspective, because I know that once Avril Lavigne kind of came back into the forefront and everyone's like, oh my God, like pop punk is back. And there was a lot of like OG like pop punk and like emo kids like, oh, she never was one of us, and being like weirdly gatekeepy as like 30+-year-olds. And I'm like, hey guys, it's okay. Everyone loves Avril Lavigne. What's your perspective on that? Because I mean, I personally have always seen Avril Lavigne as like a pop punk just person, like somebody who makes that music, and that's always just been whatever to me. But like, how have you seen any of this discourse, and like how do you feel about it? Because I'm just so curious, especially because she is such a big influence on you, it seems like. If you are like looking into that and like seeing what people say and being like, are you right or are you wrong? But I think it might just be kind of weird for some people.
Yeah. To be honest, I have seen some of that discourse, but I don't really engage because people who are usually talking about that are annoying, and they're like, it's very much like it's giving like YouTube comment energy, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I'm not here for that. So I'd rather just not. For me personally, like I grew up in the era of like Britney and Christina, hashtag free Britney, but
Mhm.
I loved those pop queens, like I grew up on those girls. And when Avril came out, my world was like shook. I was like, holy shit. Avril's out here doing this pop girl moment, but like in her own way. And I was very much like a tomboy. So like seeing a girl like in the spotlight like that and just like being herself, like very unapologetic, putting out dope music, I was just like, this is crazy. This is so cool that she can do this alongside these other like pop cookie cutter, whatever you want to call them, like girls, and like still be seen and be heard was just really cool to me. And it resonated with me from a young age, and it still does. And she was kind of the first one in popular music to do that, at least for our generation. And that's the reason why I am just so like enamored by her, because it's like she just did whatever she wanted. People are like, oh, she's an industry plant or whatever. I'm like, yeah, there's a ton of those, but not everyone can make a splash in it like that. I'm like, are you her debut record like that? If you listen to it front to back, like it's insane. And she has writing credit on every single song at the age of like 15 or 16. I'm like, that's wild. So all that to say, I think she is pop rock. There's a lot of punk influence, and she says she's very much like pop punk, whatever. And in conclusion, I hate putting genres on music.
Mhm.
Because it's like I don't only listen to one genre, like I love R&B, like I love soul music, I love jazz, like I love country music, and I love taking all those influences and putting music out with those influences. And when you put it out, you have to pick a genre, for marketing, whatever. But at the end of the day, just do whatever you want. Avril is an icon, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong. Period.
It's been interesting, uh, in the same vein of like Avril and Britney and Christina is like the time that we've had between then and now. Like, I think just like Avril wearing a tie and a tank top is like
Yeah.
that is just
The
so
way I wore a tie because of Avril.
yes. Like, but and like how many people were at that time listening to music that then developed their own musical tastes and like took that and then created music from there, much like you. And it's like that is the inspiration, and we were talking so much shit about it back then, and then it's like, but there are so many people that took what that was now that we look back and we go, well, that's basically the same as Avril taking whatever she liked at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like now I think we're all just like our heroes, like all of these bands that we're like giving all the respect back to, even though at the time it was like, I don't know, like their fashion is stealing from this genre, or they're doing this, or they sound like this. And it's like now 10 year and 15, however many years later, times a flat circle, we're like, no, these people deserve the utmost respect, and they deserve headlining gigs, and they deserve the good times at festivals.
Exactly. I mean, you said it. I agree. Like,
I watched a video the other day of, well, it's actually of Evanescence, which is another, band that people are
Yes,
like,
big
oh,
fan.
female singer, so now you're Evanescence now. And it's like looking at these bands that, they were like, well, we don't know how to sell a female singer in a metal band. And like, you're not Avril, you're not pop, you're not this, like, you're in a metal band. How are we supposed to sell you? And then it's like they blow up, and the record label's like, oh shit, we don't know what we're doing.
I mean, a bigger problem it's like now we're seeing more females and non-white men in bands, and it's like it's all the layers of the industry, starting from the journalism, the photography, and then the labels. I'm like, people don't know what to do with them because everyone at the label is white men.
Yep.
So I'm like, we just need diversity across the board, which is like, I don't even have to say that, but that's the reason why I feel like it's taken so long for bands that are non-white men to like even be heard or like get any kind of attention. So it's exciting to just finally be in it. I'm like, if I knew this was going to happen like 10 years ago, I would have like, no, you're lying.
Yeah. 10
But
years from now, the white men will be the less popular one.
And that's what brings out the unfortunate incel energy. I know I've seen like a different TikToks and it's like, oh, like tell me about like these POC bands or like here are POC bands on this playlist or whatever. And you'll see people being like, why are we doing that? Like, we don't have to do that. They've always been there. And I'm like, but it's been hard for me to find them up until, the last handful of years. I'm like, unless you're like really, really into the scene, which not a lot of casual listeners are.
Right.
And I know I went on a TikTok and somebody said like, give me like your spicy emo pop punk take. And somebody was like, well, there's a bunch of like really good POC bands out there. And then they said like, oh yeah, Charlie McCoy, Gym Class Heroes. Everyone was like, oh my God, I forgot about them. And they like nobody offered anything else. And I'm like,
Gym Class Heroes was their best. Like, they're great, but also that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Literally, I was like looking through and seeing because it was in like a comment thread of like 20. Out of the 20, everyone just talked about Gym Class Heroes and how they had stopped listening to them and like no other like suggestions. And I'm like, you are the problem.
Honestly, kind of scary, but I totally hear you on like it takes a lot of time and effort to like keep up with all the new music. And I used to do music journalism and like interviewing bands and doing show photography, so I was just like in the know all the time. But once you're not like actively doing that, it's hard to keep up. And once you get into a certain age, I feel like for me personally, I'm like, I only listen to my friends' bands or the music that I listened to when I was like in 8th grade now. Like, it's gonna take a lot for you to like get into my rotation, but if you're good, you will. But but honestly, if Gym Class Heroes was their only callback, that's like unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whole new one. Also, super slept on right now. Like, they were so good, and we need to like remember Gym Class Heroes as well as get the new bands in there.
Like, I have not like checked in.
Trevi McCoy is coming back. He released like a new single that's very sad. It is very upsetting. It's about like him like losing a bunch of people to COVID, and it's like really like heart wrenching. I'm like, holy shit. Like, boy, I'm hurting for you, but it's good. Yeah. But I guess that it's just him just being solo apart from Gym Class Heroes.
All right. Well, I'm stoked to hear it. Glad he's like still active. That's cool. Yeah.
It's a reunion we need. A Gym Class Heroes reunion.
They were definitely like a MySpace profile song.
Yeah. Oh, I know every word to that one. I know the new friend request. Like, play it sometimes, and I'm just like, yeah, I know all the words to this, and I kind of like move away from the microphone, and I'm just like,
I love it. I
don't want to embarrass myself when I like mess up one line, and they're like,
I love it.
Last year's. So we were talking a bit before we started recording about emo nights and how there are like the concept of emo nights is like strange to you. I mean, you are on a playlist for Emo Night LA, which is friends and all that. But yeah, what do you feel about emo nights? Because I like your take on it.
Well, you were mentioning how you went and you're just like, I don't want to talk to anybody or see anybody. And I'm like, okay, you're literally in a venue with 500 people. And it's just the concept of emo night. It's like everyone who would go to that hates people and doesn't want to be around people. And you go to this event and you're like, I'm surrounded by people. So it's very funny to me. Yeah. Actually, I've never been to an emo night. Which is very sad, honestly. And I kind of want to, but I also kind of not want to because of the being around people aspect. Right. So we'll see how it goes. But they did put me on the playlist, and I like literally screamed. So there's that.
You can always be that cringy person who's like, no, I'm really going to commit to the bit and get one of those shirts that's like, I hate people or like people scare me. And just walk in and see what you have to see. From what happens. Topic. Social experiment.
Oh, man. It has to be from Hot Topic.
Yeah.
There's got to be. They probably still have them. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't.
What's that Happy Bunny that was that Hot Topic?
Yeah. I feel like the Hot Topic, like, merch line has stayed the same for the past, like, 23 years of it.
Just, I don't know.
But it works. So.
Yeah, exactly. People are still sad. People are still angry. People still don't like
People are
people.
still sad and angry. It's true.
It is like, I mean, when I go, I feel very like, and I've been thinking this since, you know, now things are opening up in whatever capacity, and you can feel whatever you feel about that. I'm not commenting on the opening up. I'm just saying I've been out, I've gone to places, and I've seen people, but like my energy level for being around other people and engaging and having conversations is just like, I'm not used to it still, because it's just been so
Yeah,
long since you're like physically in a room with somebody else. And
totally.
I was saying that like I would really enjoy if there was like some way that I could communicate with people where like I want to acknowledge that I see you, I know you, hi, I'm glad you're, you know, up and about, but I don't really have anything else to say about a conversation. I don't have any conversation to have with you. Like every conversation is, what have you been up to? I don't know, existential dread for a year and a half constantly. What the fuck do you
Yep.
want me to say? So like, I don't need to have that conversation every time we run into each other at a bar. I'm fine with just being like, you know, a quick little like Pete Wentz, like eyebrow thing, salute, catch you around, you know? But
I mean, there
I
you
don't know if
go.
you're gonna get that
that might be
extensive,
the
but
one.
for
Like
most
just
people,
it's just like my energy level for it is just very low still, and I'm not ready, and I just don't necessarily want to hang out with people outside of like a smaller group. Like I go and I'm like, these are my people, this is my cluster, I'm staying in that cluster. I don't want to meet new people.
You're basic, yeah.
Like
No, I was gonna say, like, you're basically just explaining how I am anyways.
yeah,
But that's what you call being introverted.
right.
Which people don't believe, because you're like, oh, you're on stage. But I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
but that's different. It's like it's a specific purpose. And I enjoy this form of expression, but that's the only time I'm gonna be extroverted.
And like you're not having like a conversation with somebody when you're on
Right.
stage. There's very different.
You're just singing and jumping, dancing around, doing what you
Yeah.
need to do.
Exactly.
Basically, somewhat alone, but like with like certain bandmates. But in like a sense, you are alone within your own world, vibing, and whoever the fuck else is out there is whoever's out there.
Yeah.
Basically, like
Exactly.
it's a separate experience.
It
Exactly.
is. It really is. And people who don't do it don't get it. I'm just like, I'm introverted, I promise. I do well in small groups. That's it.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I'm really like excited about the prospect of like being around my close friends again more constantly and doing things. Like I think emo nights are fun because you're like listening to music you like, you're jamming out, you can like dance in a circle with your friends, you know, have a couple bevs and like be back at the bar. It's like kind of nice.
Yeah.
But it's just that like when there's that many people in a place, you're like gonna run into somebody and they're gonna be like, hey, or I mean, being in a band, having a podcast, not as cool as being in a band. I'm just gonna use the one example. Being in a band, people will go, hey, I've listened to your band. Oh my God, like I'm this person and like I love what you do, and like, hey, you know, can I work with you on this, or like what are you doing about this, or like, and it's like, okay, no, fuck that, like that's not what I want either.
Well,
Yeah.
Brian,
That's a whole other thing.
we bring up sometimes because Brian had like a little foray of like little, I don't want to say like stalkers, but kind of, it's basically what it was. It was just kind of creepy to a
Supporters.
point.
Mm.
Yeah. That would definitely, I like brought it up when we were hanging over the weekend. I said, hey, do you think they're gonna come back for you, Brian? Because
No.
we haven't heard or seen them on social media or anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wonder if that's time
See?
naturally to come out.
Mm.
I have no energy for it.
Nature will be healing once they do.
Yeah.
God, I need to hurt
That's
nature
okay.
again.
It's a
gonna say.
tweet ready to be written.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I imagine the people are running into you like that at when you're out, and they're just like,
Oh my gosh. I have like tickets to a few shows for friends' shows, and I'm just like, please, no. I will be wearing my mask, but my hair is also green. And I'm usually the only little like short Asian girl at a rock show anyways. Like seriously, my entire life since I was like 12 going to shows. So I am easy to spot, but please is all I'm saying.
yeah, be natural, be normal.
You're just standing in the back like this, hands crossed, being like, "Yeah, awesome." And somebody's like, "Hey, that band,
You look
that
like
music," and you'd be like, Okay.
You look like In the Morning. In the in look like In
That's
the
so
Morning.
crazy. I get that all the time.
So weird. Never heard of him.
I'm wearing a mask. I could be anybody. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess like I've gone into some places where I'm like, I don't want to be recognized. I'm gonna wear a mask. But like now that people aren't requiring it, I'm like, well, now I'm gonna get noticed. Like, hopefully I don't run into anybody. Which is, this makes it sound like I just like shouldn't go out of my house ever
Yeah,
again.
every time that you've explained to me, I'm like, Brian, you can stay inside. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
If you don't
No
wanna
one's
go
stopping
outside
you.
anymore.
I know.
That is fine and normal.
I mean, like watching the Bo Burnham special is like, no, I can't do this. I need to get out. Like, I can't be inside. I need to be outside a little bit. But then every time I do it, I like come home and I go, I'm never doing that again.
That's so funny. I love being outside. I love being in nature, unlike you apparently. But
Yeah.
like I love going on hikes like by myself. Obviously during the daytime because we're
Sure.
safe. But
Yeah.
Yes.
I like have my mask. I got my like running hat on and like no
Mhm.
one knows who I am. This is great. I love being anonymous. I think I said that already, but
Yeah.
I do enjoy that.
Big incognito mode whenever
Yeah.
you have sunglasses and a mask and you're
IRL.
walking around and
Yes.
people are like, what? And I'm like, yes. Do you have something to say? I feel like it makes you more intimidating for no reason either, because people are like, I can't see anything. other
Dude,
than, like,
yeah.
your hair or like whatever
Yes.
else you're wearing. They're just like, but who are you? And it's like,
Okay,
none of your
yes to that,
business.
but it very much also gives me like main character energy,
Yes. Yes.
which I love because I have a lot of Leo placements. So I will say that. I do
Okay.
love the main character energy that it provides.
I wonder if there's like that might be a difference of West Coast versus Midwest, where it's like I can go outside and just like look at a building, and you can go outside and there's like actual nature. Like actual nature is healing, and for us, it's like nature is there are people at the bar again, and
That's
they're
so
drunks
funny
on the
and
street.
sad. You guys should come out to the West Coast.
There is like a very strong feeling that I get being from the Midwest about, I think it's mostly California, but I think Lizzie and I dream of Seattle, we dream of Portland, we dream of like Pacific
You guys-
Northwest.
You guys would love it. I mean, I love the Pacific Northwest. I was born and raised there. I lived there my entire life. Only moved because like wanted to be in like creative stuff, you know, but
And
it's beautiful out there. Like you can be in the city, but also be at the ocean or in the mountain or in the snow within like 30 minutes. It's like the best of everything, honestly. But now like all the tech companies are, so it's like overcrowded. But
yeah,
besides that, still
I've seen a
it's
lot of,
still
like-
beautiful, still lots of good food. The people are awesome. Great music.
yeah.
I've seen so many like HGTV shows and they're like, we're moving to Seattle, and it's like these
Really?
little bungalows going for like almost $1 million for like a
Yeah.
2-bed, and I'm like, what?
It's expensive to, I mean, Seattle is one of the most expensive places to live now, up there with like LA and New York. It's insane.
Yeah, just following Finn McKenty. I know way too much about the Seattle real estate market.
That's hilarious.
This doesn't matter to me in the slightest, but I know a lot now.
Yeah, I mean, I only know because my friends are like trying to buy houses and they're like, we have to move to the boonies if we want to buy a house.
Yeah.
And even then, it's like upwards to like $1 million. And I'm like, what?
Oh
Why?
my god.
That's
Yeah.
usually the part of the artist story where you're like on your Kanye level, and you're like, I got to get out of like all of this because I can only create art if I am isolated and alone in the woods of Montana.
In Wyoming, yeah.
Yeah, like that.
Well,
That's
wherever
usually
you
that.
Oh man, that sounds nice though. That does sound nice.
It sounds amazing, but I'm like, if I do that, I'm essentially saying like I'm that level of artist, right? Like you have to be that level where you're like, I need to be away.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
I'll say
true. But I feel like I personally would be like, I'm so isolated and alone, which is what I said I wanted. But now I'm out here and I'm just acting crazy, wearing my Avril tie by myself.
My Avril tie by myself on a buffalo, hanging out.
I love that. That reminds one of my other favorite artists is Lights, and I forget which album it was, but she was talking about how she would always go on like artists, like her own writing retreats, just like her in nature. but she did this one in like the desert, and she's in one of those like bubble dome things, and I'm like, that sounds really
Ooh.
fun. So I
Yeah.
feel like retreats could be a nice like middle ground because you're
Retreats,
not like
yeah.
living out there. You're just like, okay, I'm gonna take a week or two off and just like write.
Yeah.
That's good.
Get away from it all, which is
Yeah.
like that's an unrenewable resource. Like getting away from things and people and
Mhm.
distractions. That is a very unrenewable resource that you have to just kind of grab sometimes.
Totally. Very much. Even during pandemic times, I'm like, screen fatigue is so real. And I feel like people, I'm assuming, but people like us are always on screens already anyways.
Mhm.
And we're just like, now we're only on screens. So yeah, it's really important to get that time for sure.
I love being in front of a screen. So I mean that's my
Yeah, he
personal feeling.
loves. He's like, yeah, let's just virtual. I like try to even call him on his phone, like a normal cell phone call, and he's like, why
No,
are you calling
what is
me?
this?
Text me, and I'm like, I'm
Get in the
driving.
Zoom call. What are you doing?
I'm
That's
driving.
hilarious.
Don't
I'm
like
like
it.
in between. I'm like the person who sends like 2-minute long voice messages via text. Yeah.
I'm old. I'm 100. I look fine. I
I
actually
will
look
never
terrible for
reveal my
100.
age. Like,
That's fine. No, look, I acknowledge I'm old because like Snapchat, for example, is like a social network that I never really got into because it was just kind of like past my time of being young, and none of the people in my life use Snapchat to where it became that thing. And
right.
like I feel like that's phones for like my parents or phones for like a generation before is like, oh, I don't have to even like call somebody. I could just text them now, and that's perfect. And so they're
Yeah.
like, well, why are you texting? You could call. And like it's kind of that like range of social medias as it goes down the line of like how you're communicating with everybody. And I never did voice memos, but I'm like, oh, Snapchats are like similar where it's like I communicate with everybody over Snapchat. I need to Snapchat this to somebody. And I'm like, I don't understand at all. I have no concept of what you're doing right now.
That's hilarious. And you said it already. It's very much just like environmental too, and who you're usually surrounded by and how you communicate with them. And honestly, like I have a different way to communicate with every person in my life. So there are people that I Snapchat. There are people that I only send voice messages to. There are people that I just tweet. Then there's people that I like communicate on every single platform, and there's like a different conversation on every single app. So it very much just depends on their style. But I do love sending a good voice message because I'm usually too lazy to type everything out, and it's usually faster.
I see the value in that.
Yeah, Brian sent me a voice memo at like 4 a.m. when I was working one time, and I said, "Okay, this is new," because I didn't know how to use it in like Discord, and I was like, "Okay, let's figure this out." And then I'm like, "Do I text it back? Do I send a voice memo back?" I was unsure of the protocol because I was like, "What do I do in this instance? Am I doing the same way, this medium of transferring information, or am I doing the way that like I already would do it anyway?"
That's so funny you mentioned that because I remember I recently like voice messaged someone for the first time, and they were like, I don't know if I can follow up with a voice message. And I was like, dude, there's literally no pressure. And he was just like, can I just call you? I'm like, yeah, there's like literally no pressure. Basically, there's no rules. No pressure. There's no rules. Like, do whatever you want.
I legitimately do not remember sending you that message, Lizzie.
The fact that you guys were up at 4 a.m. working though.
Well,
I was at work. He was not.
I don't know
He
what
just
my work
texted
was.
me. No, I don't remember. But
I don't think I was
remember
working.
'cause I started work at like 2 a.m. because that's when they switched my newsroom schedule, and they were like, "Okay, you're in at 2," and I said, "Okay," and you were like, "Hey," and you were texting me, and I'm like, "Are you gonna go to bed? I'm concerned for you."
Oh my gosh.
I do not remember that.
Because I literally woke up at 4 a.m. like last week.
Oh my
And
god.
speaking of voice memos, I woke up at 4 a.m. This is a tangent, but you said 4 a.m. and it like, reminded me that I woke up at 4 a.m. a few days ago. And I was like half asleep, and I opened my phone and I literally just sang an entire song that I wrote half asleep.
Oh my god.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like that has never happened to me in that way. And I was like, this is, and then I listened to it the next morning. I'm like, this is good. And so you heard it here first. It's the next single. I don't know when it's coming out, but it happened.
I'm saying like your brain, when you're in that state, like you can get a really good thing, but I'm always
4
like,
a.m. brain, 4 a.m. brain.
I'm always like, this is going to be the worst thing I've ever heard when I wake up. Like my sleep brain is like, you have this really good idea, but then it's also your brain telling you it's really good. It's like, oh man, we're having drinks and it's like, yeah, we're gonna hang out all the time, we're gonna be like best friends in the morning. You're like, I never want to see that person again. Like, no, we're not doing that. We're gonna go on vacation, we're gonna take trips together. It's like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do that.
We're not doing that.
Like that was a different person.
That was a different person.
I don't know her. She don't exist. She exists one time and that was it. She's gone forever. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
So, man, I did want to ask, because you do have, like, I saw that you have photo cards as some of your merch, and I think that's, like, really different. And we talked with a lot of different bands recently about different merch items that they're doing. What kind of made you want to do this as an option rather than, like, any other of the plethora of insane options out there?
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited you asked me this question. First and foremost, I'm like a merch hoarder. Okay, I love merch. I love. If I'm a fan of you, like I'm a stan of you. Like I will go all the way. So, all that to say, love merch. So last year I released a few songs as Tran, as my solo artist name, and I wanted a way to like send something cute. Like I love sending snail mail to people. Like I think it's so fun, and like I love getting mail and I love sending mail. So wanted to do that. So I created these like little postcards that were just the album artwork and then the lyrics on the back. And I would just write little notes to each person. And these people would be ranging from friends and family, but mostly just people who would like listen to my actual music. So it was a way to like say thank you, but also like notify them that a song is coming out. So it was like very multi-purpose. And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, it's just like a really cute idea. And people love like getting mail when it's like not a bill. Mm-hmm. So I was like, this is really fun. And I love doing it. And I love like writing notes. And people started posting it. And I was just like, oh, this is like sick. They're like, oh, I got this. Like, listen to a Tran song. And they would like tag the song, tag everything, and like how to get to the music and like post about me. And I was like, wait, I just did this for fun because I like sending mail. But now I'm getting like promo too. So yeah, so that was great. And so with the In The Mourning launch, I wanted to kind of recreate that organic reach and like just that fun interaction and engagement. And my little sister, we mentioned K-pop earlier, but she's like a huge K-pop fan. And I feel like a lot of people over the pandemic became K-pop fans and like anime fans, or like anything you were a fan of, like it just became so like, it just increased by so many levels. Mm-hmm. Just had so much time. So in K-pop music, they have a lot of different versions of albums. And in the albums, when you buy them, you get a special photo card and you have to like collect them all, but you don't know which one's going to come with it. So people will buy like 20 copies of an album just to get their bias, which is like their number one like favorite member of the band. So they'll buy the albums and try to collect them all, but you never know what you're going to get. So it's like genius. It's like they're paying $30 for an album just to get this like 20-cent piece of cardstock. Ridiculous. K-pop they're on another level, I will say that. But so yeah, so it's like a fusion of my little postcard thing. And then I was just like, oh, it's really fun. And like I created 3 different ones. So like people could collect them all if they were like a fan or if they like bought merch or bought music. So it's been really fun. And people have been posting it just as I suspected. And it's been really, it's just fun to like send it out and really fun to see their reaction when they get mail. So yeah, that is the long-winded answer of why I made photo cards for In The Mourning.
I'm saying people can learn a lot from K-pop marketing. Like there's so much there.
Yeah, people have so many issues with it, but it's like, why? They are doing the smartest, most outrageous thing that they know how to do because they know their fan base.
Exactly.
And they know how to grow it.
They really said, give the people what they want.
And they said, here you go. I mean, the BTS meal.
Yeah.
Okay, I wish I could turn my camera because I literally have the BTS meal sauce packet labels.
Oh my God.
On my wall. I'm insane. Yeah. All I'm saying is that it works. Listen to your fans, give them what they want, and at the end of the day, it's just like a really fun way to like stay engaged, because nowadays like there's a million bands that you could listen to, and like there's a million bands that kind of sound like In The Mourning, but at the end of the day, like there are small things that will set you apart and just create like a fun and unique and special moment for people who support and listen to your music. So I'm always like, as a fangirl, I want that experience, and for anyone who like listens to us, like I want to create that for them too. So any kind of small thing that I can do, it's always really fun for me, and just fun to see how people react to it.
We found that like a lot of bands now are, I think there's a much better sense of like the community around the band and the community around the people that are the members of the band, rather than worrying about like, we have to be the biggest band in the world. We have to like get everybody to like us. We need to be on the radio. We need to be all this. It's like, well, none of that exists anymore, so don't worry about it. But except for Lizzie's job. I mean, Lizzie works in radio. It's fine. Lizzie's doing okay.
Wow, thanks.
But it's like, rather than trying to be the biggest thing in the world, it's more like, let me get like a lot of close friends. Let me get a lot of people in my community together. And that's going to be our audience, because that means the most right now. Like, is that kind of like your goal or your direction?
Totally. I mean, all those reasons why like getting big or getting on the radio, like if that's your reason for being in a band, like you should not be in a band. First of all. And like I've been in the music industry for so long, and like literally every single role you could think of, and it's just like, I don't know, for so long I was just like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to do this, because I was just so jaded. I'm like, I'm such a realist, and like I have the work experience, and I'm like, the percentage of that it happens to these bands, it's like literally less than 1% for the people who like quote unquote make it. But I think if your intention is true and like you just truly love the music and you love doing what you do, like that's all that really matters. And I forgot your question, but
like, is that what you want for your community? Like, just to
Oh yes, I remember now. So you said the word community, and it reminded me of Twitter. I forget. I think Hansel or Nightlife tweeted. Hansel does tweet as Nightlife, so it's like
he also does one of the other like scene kid accounts.
Scene facts, I'm like, every time we both log on to Twitter, I have to like log back and forth between multiple accounts to like it for every account. It's like a whole thing. Anyways, all that to say, they tweeted like, what's the Twitter band like tour? And I forget the tweets that happened before that, but like it just like reminded me of like the whole MySpace band community. And like I was kind of like in that space a little bit before MySpace died, but there was just a very specific like stereotype of like what a MySpace band was, and it was just like a really cool way to connect with fans and other bands, and it was just such an organic way to do it, and it was just so fun and like authentic, I feel. And like I haven't felt that way until honestly the beginning of the pandemic, when everyone was just like online all the time. And like throughout the pandemic, like I became friends with so many dope bands and artists because of Twitter. And like the scene is popping on Twitter. If you're like in a band and you're not on Twitter, like you're missing out on really dope people and like awesome fans. And honestly, because of Twitter, that's like the only reason why people even know what In The Mourning is. I'm like, if I didn't have Twitter, like I would just like release this into space and no one would even hear it. But all that to say, the Twitter band community is really dope, and we're about to blow up. That's all I'm going to say.
We love it.
We're almost to an hour, so I want to give a little chance for you to throw out some plugs here. You can tell everybody where they can find you or the band or anything. We'll keep talking for a little bit after, but where can everybody find you, listen to you, and all the good stuff?
Yeah, I'm very easy to find on the internet. Back in 2009, when I made all my accounts, Amanda Tran already existed. So of course I was like at Amanda Tran Rocks. Just how it sounds. And ROCKS. And it has haunted me ever since 2010. So there's no going back now. I have to stay on brand. So that's me. You can find In The Mourning on every social media at In the Mourning. That's Mourning. The sad morning, not the one when you wake up,
Right.
LA. So In The Mourning LA is all of our social handles. And we also are at inthemorningla.com for everything. And we have a merch store up too if you love merch like me.
They can
I
get the
think you're
photo
like,
cards there too.
Yes. We
Yes.
also have, this is coming out after the deluxe release. So I can tell
ooh,
you
Oh
that
shit.
there are only 25 copies of At What Cost Deluxe ever to be made. They are signed
oh,
and numbered. They
Oh
come with a
shit.
photo card. They come with an exclusive sticker sheet. They come with a bestie bracelet handmade by me. And you can also win a hand-dyed t-shirt
Oh
from
my
me.
god.
So
ooh.
you should probably go to inthemorningla.com.
Going right now.
Do
The rest of
it.
this is you. I gotta do stuff.
Oh my god. I think it's really cool that like more bands are starting to get more like actually DIY like hands-on with a lot of their merch, especially like this past year. I've seen it happen a lot
Real.
more. And
That's
like we were
dope.
talking about earlier, like, people love the BTS, like how K-pop markets. But I think even for like our type of like music community that
Mhm.
that we fall under the umbrella of, it's like people want that connection to an extent to be like, oh, you aren't like one of those like sellout bands. I'm using a lot of
Yeah.
air quotes here, which obviously we never want to like tell people to do. If you make a bunch of money doing music, that's sick. More power to you. But it's like, hey, like this person is like DIY or die. They are grounded and they are dedicated to their fan base. I think that's just so cool, and that like you're able to do that and like do it in like this kind of like limited release. That's like really good promo marketing at the same time.
Thank you. And honestly, like it is really dope to see other people doing it, but I'm just gonna say that I've been doing it since day one because I just like love being niche. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I also love arts and crafts and I love just doing things. And I've always done everything myself. So DIY, like I've literally done every single thing by myself. So it's really fun and rewarding to like see people enjoy it. But yes, keep doing your DIY merch. I'm very here for it. I love limited run things because it adds like a sense of urgency too. As a fangirl, I'm like, I have to have that. Like, so it's very
I have
fun.
to flex on everybody else
Yes.
when they're like, "Hey, who has this?" and search up, and you're like,
Yeah.
"I do," but you can't have it.
Only 24 other people will have it. So y'all better get on inthemorningla.com is what I'm saying.
Yes. I want to be the guy who collected the thing from like
The
you
thing,
and all the
wow.
bands we interviewed, just to be like, yeah, we had him on the pod back in the time. We're talking, they're famous now. It's no big deal. And it's like I just want that. Like I want that for all of us, I guess. Like I want you to get famous so that if I own something from the
Oh no,
beginning of your career,
I don't want to get famous.
well,
Like,
fine. Then I won't
just want
sell your
people to listen.
products.
I just want people to
Oh my
listen. I want them to know who In The Mourning is and know the songs, but not know me.
Okay, fair. Fair.
Okay.
I want In The Mourning to get very popular so that I can sell your stuff on
Oh my
eBay.
god.
Dude, I would be so happy for all of us if that happened.
I want, I don't use the term manifesting enough, or I use it too much. But that's what I want. I just want everybody to get really popular so that I can sell all of your guys' stuff on eBay. That's it.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
It's
You have
important to
buy
have
the
dreams.
crystals. You got to bring in the crystals now to really enhance it. Is that
Get
how it
these
works?
crystals out of here. I can't sell crystals on eBay.
You can sell anything on eBay.
That's
Really
true,
can.
actually.
All right, let's not go into the dark caverns of hell. Okay, like that's
I've never purchased anything from eBay because I'm like paranoid it'll be fake. So
Yeah.
fair, yeah.
We've had a couple. Well, I've actually been very fortunate with eBay, and now I'm like, I've got some stuff, and I'm like, am I gonna? I don't even want to bother. Like, I could just give this away. I don't want to bother
the
trying to
same
sell stuff.
mentality I have with merch though. Like I'm not gonna buy fake merch.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like buy a resell of a concert ticket. Like my worst fear is showing up and it's like a fake ticket. Like I would
Yeah.
literally be so sad.
So many people like get a story of like, I bought a ticket and like it's not real, and I'm outside the venue. It's like, oh,
No,
I'm
that's the
sorry.
worst.
I feel like that's like such a risky thing. Like I like did it a handful of times like a few years ago. But I was able to be like kind of lucky because they were like, I will give you my, it was like the fan transfer on like Ticketmaster Live Nation. So I was like, okay, this worked out. But everything else, I'm like, I don't know. This could be sketchy.
Yeah.
Especially, I have to like stalk the person selling it. Like, I will go on their Facebook. I will find their LinkedIn.
You never know.
I will find their LinkedIn.
You never know though. Like they could be a credible person, but like they just had like a sketchy moment, you know?
Yeah.
So like
I find myself in a sketchy moment.
I mean,
that sounds like a song. Write that down. Write that down.
Write it down. Good, like late night thought we're gonna do.
Amanda's gonna wake up at 4 a.m. say sketchy moment, sketchy date.
Sketchy moments.
Oh man, you were like, oh, what's your songwriting method? I'm like, I don't have one. I just do it.
Just go.
I just get lucky, honestly. No.
I start lucid dreaming.
I'm just like an emo person, so it works out, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Amanda, this was a lot of fun.
Nice.
We obviously love your band and we love talking to you. So we want everyone who's listening to this, watching the video, go and 1 million streams, 1 million listens, 1 million. Buy out the limited edition of the deluxe at what costs on the website. Get those sticker packs. Get all the limited stuff. And maybe if I don't get one, I'll be buying it from you on eBay in years when Amanda's famous, or when In The Mourning is famous, but Amanda's still going completely anonymous.
Incognito in my mask.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Amanda, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and we're excited for you, and we'll hopefully see you soon in person, on a tour or something.
Manifesting the 2022 tour. So yeah, it'll be fun times. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast. And yeah, see you soon. Maybe at emo night too.
Hopefully, yeah.